Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Vitality Academy's presentation, where tonight all of us on the Vitality Academy are going to go through what we do on a regular basis for our health secrets, if you will. It's going to be great. It's going to be highly, highly informative. Before I forget, please do me a favor, grab a pen and paper. You're going to get a lot of valuable info today. And we have 15 minutes per speaker or thereabouts. So many parts of this actually may kind of be on a rapid fire kind of vibe. Okay. With that being said, should you be having any technical challenges, I'll give you a couple heads up. First of all, try not to have a shared network. Yes, I love people already talking about Dr. Oshan's hair. Yes, I think it's beautiful. With that, if you have technical challenges, ideally don't have a shared network. It's usually an internet speed issue. And then refresh your browser, ideally using Google Chrome. The other browsers work as well, but the Chrome seems to have the best resilience and propensity to work well. With that, I'd like you to also let us know where you're tuning in from. We have a lot of people tuned into today's webinar, and I'd like to know where you're from so we can all see it in the chat. And with that, again, it's going to be a great, great presentation today by a whole bunch of people. You're going to absolutely love it. The first doctor to start is Dr. Roshan, who I've been very blessed has decided to copy my incredibly fashionable haircut. I have no choice. He has much more of a choice. I don't know if he has hair loss. That's not the point. I don't have a choice. That man has much more of a choice. Anyway, with that, I would like to welcome everyone. Thank you, Dr. Roshan. I'm going to pull up the slides. I'm going to disappear, but I'll be here, guys.
Yes. Yes, John. They say that imitation is the best form of flattery. So, that's why I tried it for. And yes, I do wish, I do hope that everyone's future is as bright as my forehead. So with that blessings, let's proceed with the lecture. So anyone who's heard my webinars before, they know that I'm a big advocate for personal and self-development. I'm a big fan of wielding our minds, wielding our hearts, and our emotions as tools rather than being sort of moved and shaken by them. So in all my previous talks, I would have given sort of information, some sort of tips and tricks as to how best we can train our minds and hearts and tap into these simple things around us to help center and balance us. So with that being said, I decided today to have something just a little bit different, where today I'll be presenting just 5 devices that I use on a daily basis that help to balance and center me. Something essentially that's outside of myself. So, and it's because, not every day I would feel like doing breath work or doing, exercise, or some days I just feel tired and as a result of that, these small devices, just using them for short periods of time, I can still get benefit without actually having to do something actively, and so with that being said, this first slide here actually shows 2 devices. So we'll talk about the first one, which is the sort of black backrest on the recliner. The name of that device is one of the most unique devices that I've seen in a long time. It's called the VTS 1000 by a company called Sound Oasis. And what it does, it's a vibroacoustic device. So the acoustic part comes from right where your head is meant to be. There are 2 small speakers sort of next to each ear, and when you turn it on, each speaker feeds independent music to each ear using binaural beats, essentially. And but the sort of party piece of the device is the vibratory module that's located sort of where the lumbar area is, sort of the curvature of your back. And that device, it vibrates essentially in sync with the music that's being played. The real magic is that encoded sort of into that music, there is binaural beats, so that which helps to adjust your brainwave states. So, for instance, if I come home and I'm sort of had a stressful day and I'm having trouble to sleep, or I anticipate having trouble to sleep, for instance, there is a lovely sort of anti-stress program that I could use where I can just sit down, relax, and allow my entire body to be filled with the frequency of the anti-stress brainwave state. Or for instance, if I didn't sleep well last night because I had some toddlers kicking me in the head all night, there's an energize function in it. So there are a few preset functions that's available where you can either it takes you up or it sort of helps to calm you down. So I find great benefit in that device because it's versatile either way. And then, so that's the first set of device. And what we found was that, or at least what the researchers found, was that coupling that vibratory module with the sound waves that are sort of encoded into the music, it was synergistically effective rather than just using the binaural beats alone. So the other sort of device that's available there, as you can see, there's a little sort of black mat that's on the footrest of the recliner. That's, some of you all may be aware of it, that's a grounding mat. And you can see the little red cable on the ground, that's actually connected to the grounding wire or the earthing wire or pin for that matter in the electrical socket. So what that enables me to do is it helps to ground me essentially. That black mat is a conductive surface. So it brings up a lot of free electrons from the earth and makes it available to me in the comfort of my own home. So ideally, and I would have spoken about this before, ideally going out there in the grass and connecting to the earth physically is best. But for those of us who can't, perhaps in winter, perhaps if we live in a high-rise apartment, whatever it may be, this grounding mat helps quite a lot to connect us to the earth and grants us a lot of free electrons. The designers and the makers of the grounding mat, they tout a whole host of health benefits to the grounding mat. But for me personally, in my use, I found it quite helpful in helping me to be a lot more mentally sort of even, in the sense that I don't have the dips and spikes in my mental energy. So much so that I found benefit in having another mat at work. And so that helps me throughout the day as well to stay grounded. Especially because I spend a lot of my days either in the office or at home. And I do work hard to ground myself physically, but the vast majority of the day I spend not grounded, and as do a lot of us. And so using this device, I sort of in conjunction, or at the same time, I get double benefits from two different devices. And what I do is either in the morning or in the evening, if I feel like it, I sort of just lay down, close my eyes, and just allow both devices to do its work. I just be receptive, if I don't feel like actively doing something for myself in that regard. So that's the first slide, and that's the first two devices that I'd like to sort of share with you all. Let me see if I could change the slide here. Yes, this is the second device. Now, the first device, the VTS 1000, is not a massager. It's a vibroacoustic device, so it vibrates quite a lot. This here is it's a massager. It's a massage gun, which is all the rage right now in the sort of US health and wellness market. The reason why I like this massage gun it's because, well, this particular form factor, it allows me to use it on myself, interestingly enough, where because of the way it's made, the weight of the device sort of hangs from my hand, so I could reach towards my back areas without having much strain. How I use this device is in the morning. It comes with a few attachments. So this particular attachment here is relatively soft, and so in the morning I sort of just run it up and down my legs, my back, my arms, even the palms of my hand. And it helps to wake me up, helps to get the blood flowing and all of these things. And it helps to really stimulate a lot of movement of fluids, lymphatics, blood vessels, all of these things. A second attachment, it's a sort of triangle or cone attachment used for focused therapy. And so with the small amount of knowledge I have of the meridians, in the morning when I wake up, whichever meridian I feel like stimulating that morning, I just put on that cone attachment and I use it as I feel like, and that I found to be very, very helpful as well. Just intuitively, whichever I feel like it. So for those therapists out there, this may be a good device to sort of look into. My wife as well, she's found great benefit with this device because she also wrestles with two toddlers on a 24-hour basis. So at the end of the day, she does have a lot of tension and strain in her neck and sort of upper back muscles. And so again, because it's light enough and its form factor, she actually is able to use it for herself, or sort of if I'm around, to be able to get really deep into that muscles and help loosen up some of those knots. Now, I do also agree, and I do also understand that nothing could replace the human touch with having actually somebody work on your hand. But in how I see this one was, it's that it can be used sort of 2 to 5 minutes every day, very, very quickly, to great benefit, rather than having to spend 30 minutes, an hour getting a massage once a week or once every couple of weeks. So I use this a couple of minutes every day to sort of help get things moving. And also I do some exercise as well. So as a result of that, any sore muscles I have, whether it's my glutes, my calves, my shoulders, a couple of minutes of therapy on that, and it really does help me to recover. So for those of us who exercise out there, it's well known that we can only work out as hard as we recover. So this actually helps me to recover much, much quicker in that regard. So that's the Theragun. The third device that I'd like to showcase, it's this device here, which I actually have on loan from Dr. Harry. It's a red infrared light box. And so if I were to turn it on, there we go. So there are some light bulbs that are on and some that's seemingly off. And the ones that are seemingly off, it's actually infrared lights. So you won't really see it visible per se. So, and what this does is I sort of have it on my dresser, as you may be able to tell. And sort of every morning when I'm brushing my teeth, I just sort of walk in front of it bareback, and just for a couple of minutes, 5 minutes in the front, 5 minutes in the back, I sort of expose myself to the light. And what this helps me to do, red infrared light is well documented that there's a lot of health benefits to it. There's the increased collagen production, there's reduced inflammation, increased blood flow, and because it's light as well, there's an energetic component to it. So as a result of that, it actually helps to increase my vitality in the morning as well. There are also studies that shows that it also helps with sleep too. So this could also be used to help with sleep as well. So that's the other thing here that I use. The last device I'd like to show off, I wouldn't show it off just as yet. I want to give a little preamble to this device. The last device I'd like to show is probably the most important one. And if there's any one device that you guys thinking about getting, get this last one, because this last one is probably the one that is most profound. And drum roll, please. And this is it here. That's the last device. And this is something that I use every day. I try to use this every day. And I do it at night, usually. And sometimes my wife joins me, sometimes she doesn't. And what I do is every night before I go to bed, I try to spend 5, 10, 15 minutes just sitting outside in the stillness, just enjoying the peace and the quiet. We all have very busy lives. We all have very hectic lives. We spend 10, 12 hours every day talking constantly. We're all bustling around, hustling. And so for me, when the kids are asleep, when the kitchen is clean, when the house is ready to sort of go to bed, I just go out here for 5 to 10 minutes every night and just enjoy the peace and the quiet. And it's such a stark contrast to how the day was that there's something about it that's very uplifting and very rejuvenating. And why I like this so much is because it doesn't take a whole set of time. You don't have to be here for hours on end. Just 5 minutes, just 10 minutes, 15 minutes if you like. And when you feel rejuvenated, when you feel like you've drank it all in, then you get up and you go to bed. And I've actually started to do some sleep tracking in the recent past, and I found that when I do this with some conviction, my REM sleep and my slow wave sleep actually has increased dramatically. So something as simple as this, where you just drink in the stillness and the peace and quiet, it helps so much. So these are the few devices that I use. I don't use every device every day. I sort of intuitively pick which one I'd like to use because I just don't have the time. But each device has a purpose, and the purposes overlap, yes. And sometimes I use some, I don't use some. And I don't use any device for long periods of time. And I use these devices in conjunction with the usual thing, the breath work, the energetic work, the physical exercise, the diet. And so in conjunction with those healthy habits, use of these devices go a long way in helping to sort of help bring vitality, energy, and help recovery so that we can go keep living life to the fullest. And which I think that's the point of what we do here, you know. So I hope that today was a lecture with a difference as compared to my usual talks. And I hope that you guys would have found some benefit in the whole thing. So if you guys have any questions, I'll be here in the Q&A. So all the best, guys. Dr. Nash is up next. So take care. Hello, everybody. So
I'm here and then I'm gone. All right.
So in case you didn't realize, most of the Vitality Academy team, the Ishtara component of it, we're in the same location. And so we'll be presenting from the same location. Very excited about this particular webinar because it allows us to share our personal habits. It also allows all of the Vitality Academy team to be involved. Normally, we might be on the chat, but you're going to be able to hear all of us in this particular webinar sharing the kind of things that we are passionate about and what we're doing for ourselves. And as you know from the previous webinars, we do a lot of research in the health and wellness space. And so you know what we're choosing to do for ourselves, we've obviously thoroughly researched as well. So what I want to talk about is brain health and brain health optimization. Okay, and this is something that I've been exploring a lot in the last couple of months, and I've been using some of the techniques and using some of the supplements, and I want to share that. So before we get into that, I want to say why it's important in the first place. And so, well, I think for two main reasons. One is that if you think about increasing your health span, so not your lifespan, your health span, living a long and healthy life, then really what you're looking at is three major areas. If you really think about it, three major areas that people who, as they get older, they really suffer with. And so one of those things is your brain, your cognition. Because, you know, how often is it that we say when somebody gets much older, you go, oh, wow, you know, he or she is so switched on, they're so sharp. So that's usually a rarity compared to the sort of the cognitive decline that is associated with the aging. And then you have the extreme end of the spectrum where you have the different dementias and so on. And so the time to start treating your brain right is now, before there's an issue. Because often we get asked as clinicians, as physicians, to wade in and help people who have evidence of established cognitive decline, like Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, these sort of things. And that is incredibly difficult. That is an uphill struggle. You know, you make progress by inches. All right. So, you know, the time to look after your brain is absolutely right now. Okay. And so that's your, so it's a big part of the aging process. It's worth mentioning the other two, because I did say. So the other aspect is your musculoskeletal system. So Dr. Roshan put some emphasis on that, right? Because as you get older, your musculoskeletal system, which is your muscles, your bones, and your joints, if that's going to let you down, then you're going to find that you're going to slow down. You're not going to be as strong. You're going to be prone to falls, and you're going to get a ton of pain, right? And that is one of the things that you hear as people get older. They have musculoskeletal complaints. So we could talk about that and explore that at another time. And then the third part of it would be your cardiovascular health. So that has to do with your endurance, your energy levels, and obviously protecting you from things like heart attacks and strokes, which as people get older tends to be one of the things that that is going to hamper them, right? So those are the three things: your brain, your muscles, bones, and joints, and your heart. If you're thinking about living a long and healthy life, those are the three big areas, right? So that's one of the reasons why brain health and brain health optimization is so important. And then the other thing is just so you could feel great, because think about it, your perception of life, how much you enjoy what you're doing, joy and everything, it's a perception, and it is seen through the lens of how the brain and the nervous system is functioning and is working. So the better that your brain health is, the more you're going to feel upbeat, the more you're going to enjoy what you're doing, the more you're going to be able to access the moment and derive as much as you can from it. And you're going to be creative, and you're going to have ideas, and you're going to be able to want to execute those ideas and so on. So those are the reasons why I've been looking at it with myself, and I've been intervening with it with some of the techniques that I'm going to talk about. And so the first thing to say about brain health is sleep is ridiculously important. And so when patients come to me and they say, Doc, you know what, I'm worried that I have Alzheimer's. I'm worried that, my brain isn't working. The first question I ask them is, how are you sleeping? And the answer is usually that they're not sleeping very well. They have poor quality sleep. They have interrupted sleep. And they're just not getting enough of it or enough deep rest, right? And I always tell people, I say that all of the regeneration and the recuperation of memory of your whole body actually happens when you're asleep. And a bit of a silly example that I give is that I've never met a mechanic who fixes a car while it's driving. It has to pull into the garage first, right? And so when your body pulls into the garage at night, that's when all of the recuperation and regeneration of tissues and these sort of things happen. And that's when memory is deposited into long-term memory. So short-term memory is converted into long-term memory when you get deep quality sleep. And so there's a couple of different ways, and I put supplements absolutely last on this, right? Because everybody wants to know, well, what can I take to sleep, doctor? And the truth is that that's not what it's all about. It's more about sleep hygiene. And so light pollution is a big one. So you might have seen John wearing his orange tinted glasses, and I have mine on the way. I'm going to be using them very soon as well. And so what those do is they're an extreme form of blue light blocking. So blue light interferes with the pineal gland function, especially as the day wears on. And so later on at night, what happens is blue light switches off your natural melatonin production in your brain. And so many of you will know that melatonin is a supplement that people use for sleep, but it's always better to get your body producing its own melatonin. And so one of the ways to do that is to cut out light pollution. So when you get home and you're unwinding, dim the lights down, try and don't have harsh blue lights on in and around the house. Switch your screens to orange shifted on your devices, and your Apple devices have a night mode where you can shift the screen from being blue to being much more orange or light. The texture of the light being more orange. And then many screens have added apps that can do a night shift mode, and that's much better for your eye health. And it's also better for making sure that your body is going to produce this melatonin naturally that is going to help to guide you into sleep. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the blue light blocking glasses and the orange tinted glasses, if you wear those about 2 hours before rest, your body is going to produce a lot of melatonin. You're going to find you're going to sleep naturally. Red light, as Dr. Roshan mentioned as well, helps to promote melatonin, or at least it doesn't disrupt its production like other wavelengths of light. And then you can use a melatonin supplement. And recently I have been using a melatonin supplement, and I use 5 milligrams, maybe about half an hour to hour before bedtime. And I find that it has improved my depth of sleep and how much rest I have and how rested I feel the next day. And so I've been using that just in recent short too. The other thing about sleep and sleep hygiene is to get enough wind down at the end of the evening. So you don't want to do intense cardiovascular or aerobic exercise 2 hours before bed. I think that just fires you up too much. It gets too much adrenaline going. You can walk, you can stretch down, you can do yoga, you can do qigong. All of those things are really good sleep hygiene, and you can do that up to very shortly before you go to bed. You can also do meditation or breath exercises, pranayamic exercises, or just very simply, like we've taught before, slow down the breath to less than 4 breaths a minute, and maybe do that for 5, 10, 15 minutes before you go to bed. That is another way to just get the body into that kind of mode, the body and the mind into that kind of mode of relaxation, so that you get better quality sleep. And there is a technique that was made famous by Dr. Andrew Weil called 4-7-8 breathing, where you take a deep breath. Your in breath is 4 seconds, you hold for 7 seconds, and your out breath is 8 seconds. And you just repeat that for, again, 5, 10, 15 minutes before bed. Most of the time people fall asleep while they're doing it, which is great. So sleep hygiene is very, very important, as I said. And 2 supplements that I like for sleep, just to throw that in, magnesium. Everybody needs more magnesium. So you can use magnesium in the evening time, at night. It helps to relax muscles. You can do Epsom salt foot soak because it's absorbed through your skin as well. Or you could take a supplement, good quality supplement, and ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is an adaptogen, but if you take it in the evening, it has sleep promoting qualities to it, and it helps you to get a better night rest and bounce the next day. So the second part of what I want to talk about is called nootropic supplements, NOO TROPHICS, nootropics. And so nootropics are cognitive enhancing supplements, but they don't over rev the brain function. Instead, what they do is they optimize brain function, and they also protect your brain as well. So some of the ones that I've been using recently, and I find it definitely promotes much more sharpness of mind and much better quality access to your memory and all of these sort of things, is Bacopa. Or Brahmi, which comes from the Ayurvedic system of medicine. And that's an excellent nootropic. We've mentioned it before on these webinars. Dr. Harry mentioned it as well. So I use that. And that is also found in a commonly available preparation in Trinidad called Mentat. That's by the Himalaya company. And so actually I use both because a patient mentioned to me that they get better quality of mind from using, let's say, 2 Mentat and 1 Bacopa in the morning. And I tried it and I found it really works. So Dr. Adriel may mention later on that he uses Mentat more in the evening time, but I find it works great for me in the daytime. So 2 Mentat and 1 Bacopa in the morning. Other supplements that are great, well, you could even make a tea out of this, is rosemary. So rosemary essential oil has, if you research that, it promotes memory and brain function. And I've been using that ever since my studying days in school. So you have that smell, that essential oil smell going, and it promotes sharpness or quality of memory or recall. But you could actually drink a rosemary tea. There are polyphenols in that are great for your whole body, inclusive of your brain. And we also mentioned that you can mix that with guava leaves for a supreme combination. We mentioned that before, rosemary and guava leaves. And I also been using DHA supplements. So that's a type of fish oil. So when you hear omega-3 coming from animal sources or fish sources tends to have EPA, which I tell people are great for your cardiovascular system and your joints, so your body, and then DHA, which is great for your brain. I tell all my pregnant patients to use DHA, and I tell them after they have their babies to make sure and use that while they're breastfeeding, because DHA is supremely important for the formation and nourishment of the fetus and then your baby's brain. But it's great for adults as well, and it elevates mood as well. You won't notice it immediately, but after about 3 weeks of using a DHA supplement, you will find that, hey, you know what? If you look back, I've been feeling a bit more upbeat. I've been feeling a bit more positive. And then the third part is make sure and use a lot of plant compounds. Use polyphenols, flavonoids, anthocyanins. And so those things will benefit every single part of your body. Don't worry, I'll tell you what those things are in just a minute, if you don't know. But the more plant compounds that you use or that you incorporate into your diet, and we've mentioned a lot of this, but we put it into combinations before, so that would make it supreme. But if you don't know those combinations, you can look back at the webinars where that's presented. But if you don't know those combinations, even if you're using polyphenols, flavonoids, and anthocyanins in abundance, you're going to find that your brain is going to work better. You're going to be protecting your brain. You're going to be protecting your cardiovascular system. Every single cell in your body enjoys that. And so what are these compounds? So these are just naturally occurring compounds that are present in plants. And so the anthocyanins, let's take those first. Those are the reds and the purples of the plant world. So where do we get that from? So blueberries have a ton of that. Locally here and in season, you'll get something called jamun fruits, and they have a lot of anthocyanins. Again, in season, sorrel, what we call sorrel, what other people call hibiscus, contains a ton of anthocyanins in them as well. And interestingly, what we call sorrel and other people call hibiscus has been used by Egyptians and the pharaohs to promote longevity way back into antiquity. And so I think it came, it came to the Caribbean. The Jamaicans use it a lot. Trinidadians use it around Christmas time. You can always apparently get dried sorrel roselles in the supermarket. It's a product of Egypt, as I said. I haven't used that. I haven't tested that, but I have found different organic powders and so that contain it that I've used in the past. You can also use purple sweet potatoes, purple yams. Those are excellent sources of anthocyanins that are found locally as well. And then things like purple cabbage, well, that'll be imported, but things like purple cabbage, purple onions, those sort of things have a lot of anthocyanins, which are very, very protective antioxidant qualities, excellent for brain health as well. And then the polyphenols and the flavonoids, you get a lot of those from leaves actually. So we mentioned before guava leaves, mango leaves, moringa leaves, neem leaves. We even found a combination with moringa and breadfruit, or all of the edible leaves that you find. If you draw teas from them, if you extract teas from them, you're going to be getting a lot of polyphenols and flavonoids, which are beneficial compounds in like hundreds and hundreds of ways, but very, very beneficial for brain protection. And like I said, if you start now and you use those things, you're going to find that you stave off age-related cognitive decline, and you're going to find that you're sharper, and there's going to be benefit from a whole host of reasons. So that's what I've been doing recently. I've done a deep dive into that, and I've been exploring those things, and I'm definitely reaping the benefits. So I'm around afterwards for more questions, so you can save them up. And I'm going to hand over to Dr. Adriel.
Hello, everybody. Right, so I'm just going to sort of give a little overview of what I use on a regular basis for keeping myself healthy, and some concepts that I try to keep in my mind, so that going forward in life, you try to keep yourself in a healthy, wealthy, and well state. So one of the first things that I'll talk about is sort of like exercise and movement of the body of yourself, and not only just your physical body. Dr. Roshan did a talk on your mind-body connection, and exercise shouldn't just be trashing it out and just working your body. It should be getting your mind involved as well. And some of the best exercises for that would be things like yoga, as an example. Yoga engages both the mind and the body, and it creates that strong mind-body connection. And that's how we maximize the benefit out of exercise. Another thing would be things like dancing, tai chi, qigong. Once you're getting the mind involved, you're really maximizing the benefit out of exercise. In my personal life, I'll do some tai chi and qigong, and as well I'll do some dancing, and I find that really helps to keep my energy levels up. And these things, you actually enjoy doing it. So joy is another thing I'll speak about in a little bit, and its effect on your life and your longevity. In terms of our diet and lifestyles, we've talked about these things a lot, but I'll summarize a little bit the advice that I have to give. In terms of eating, we've gone through all these different superfoods and all these different supplements and what you should and shouldn't be eating. I'll try to sort of simplify it and bring it down to sort of the real basics of it all. Ideally, you want to sort of avoid these things. Dairy products. Intense amount of inflammation these things generate within the body, and I remember a few years ago, there's sort of been overeating dairy products on one day. This would be sort of things like cheese and these things, and I hadn't eaten dairy for a little while, and having done it just for one day, the next morning I woke up and I could feel the achiness in my joints, my elbows, my ankles, my knees, and it's not pain, but it just felt, like it was a chore to sort of get out of bed, that morning and move around. Once you started moving, it got better and you didn't feel it anymore. But it was something that was a bit strange, that from not having much to eating a lot in one day, just one day, you note the difference in how much that can change the inflammation within your joints. And once you have inflammation in your joints, you're going to find that you'll have inflammation in your gut lining. You're going to find that you have inflammation in your blood vessels and your arteries. And that is what, at the end of the day, leads to a lot of the age-related changes within the body. Moving on from dairy, flour. Flour is we coined the term that flour is the devil. It's really terrible. It does have a lot of negative effects on the body from the Roundup in it, and Roundup is a mitochondrial toxin. And mitochondria are these little bacterial cells that live within your cells and live in harmony with your cells, and they have effects from longevity to anti-cancer effects to energy production. So by eating flour, you're really doing harm to your mitochondria. And these guys support us, they protect us, they keep us well and healthy, and they produce all the energy that our body needs. So you want to treat these guys pretty well. And flour is one of the things that are really going to mess with that. The next thing is meat. Now, meat is, a lot of people love meat. A lot of people consume meat on a regular basis. But in this day and age, because meat has become so plentiful, we're consuming too much. And it's become a situation where people are having meat sort of almost 3 times a day. For breakfast, you're having meat as part of your diet. For lunch, you're having it. In our personal lives, all the doctors here, we're vegetarian. Some of us eat fish and seafood, but we don't do it very often. And again, that helps in terms of longevity, health, and wellness, because meat promotes a lot of inflammation. Especially meat that we get today is chock full of chemicals, hormones. A lot of these things are used in industrial processes to get these animals to market faster and get them, bigger and faster, so that they can get them to market faster. Processed foods. When you go to the supermarket and you pick up a container of something or any sort of product, and you start reading the ingredients, once you start seeing more than 4 ingredients and you start seeing words that you're finding trouble to pronounce, then that means it's highly likely that you're heading towards you're picking up on, you're looking at something, or you're considering purchasing something that is probably going to have a high inflammatory process on the body. A lot of times we see patients and we pick up a lot of chemical toxins in their during the testing, and you try to tease apart, okay, what is this person exposed to, and a large part of it is diet has a big part of it. So just watch what you're eating in terms of processed foods, because these things, they're bioaccumulative, they stick around in your system, and they sort of just muck up things, and they have some really negative effects on the general well-being of the body, the body's ability to heal itself, the body's ability to repair, regenerate, take care of itself. Sugar, and we've spoke about this a lot. We try to avoid as much sugar as we can in our diets, especially looking at and it's not just about the cakes, cookies, ice cream, those sort of things. It's hidden sugar. Always read your labels. Look at how much sugar there is per serving in anything that you eat. And so that gives you an idea of how much sugar that you're consuming on a regular basis. And sugar has some really negative effects on your health, and we all know that it increases your risks of all chronic diseases across the board. And this is things from heart attacks to strokes to cardiovascular disease to everything. In terms of, we practice a lot of fasting here. All the doctors here have their own fasting regime that they sort of stick to and work with. Personally, mine is, I've tried the sort of started off working with this, with what we call the 5-2 diet, which involves staying off of, so for 2 days during the week, you're not going to eat much at all. It's more or less water fasting, or you're keeping your calories under about 400 calories for the entire day. I personally find that has been a bit stressful, especially around the 4 or 5 o'clock evening. You'd find yourself getting very agitated or the term hangry. So I've shifted away from that and started doing what we call sort of the 18-hour plus sort of fast on a daily basis. My work days are quite long, and once I'm working, I tend not to think about food or get very hungry. So I use that to my advantage, and I will I don't eat breakfast. I don't really have lunch. I'll just have water, unsweetened tea throughout the day. And then at around 3 to 5 p.m. is when I'll have my first meal. And then later on, probably about 7:30, I'll probably end up having sometimes 8, because that's the time that I get home, between 7 and 8 p.m. I'll then have a smaller meal at that point in time. So I'm having 2 meals for the day, and I have a long period of time where my body has that chance to get into that fasted state, where my liver has the ability to start, cleaning up itself, removing a lot of the gunk, healing itself, regenerating. And as well, it plays a huge role on managing blood sugars. And blood sugar management is in terms of, and we're not even talking about, diabetes here, but higher blood sugars lead to higher insulin levels. And insulin is really the enemy of longevity. The higher your insulin levels, the more you're going to, the less time, your body is going to have into entering that sort of, that regenerative state. When insulin levels are high, your body switches off a lot of its regenerative states. It's autophagy, it's a sort of stem cell production. And when your insulin levels start bottoming out, that's when a lot of these processes start turning on. Talking about some of the supplements that I like to use. I love supplements, and I tend to experiment a lot because of the longevity effects and my own research. And as well, I like to try things before I give them out to patients on myself, so I have an idea of what I'm actually giving my patients. And at this point in time, there's a few that I'm taking that I'd like to just talk about briefly. DIM is one of them, dindolylmethane, which is a compound out of cruciferous vegetables. DIM tends to have an effect on blocking a lot of the bad estrogens within our systems. We're exposed to too much estrogens nowadays, and this tends to be from all the microplastics that we're consuming. A lot of these hormonal compounds that we're using on plants and animals and stuff like that to maximize productivity. Sometimes a lot of the heavy metal contamination, the water and other foods that we're consuming, all these things have hormone disrupting effects. And DIM helps to just sort of put you back into a state of balance by helping to manage estrogen levels. And this is a supplement that's both safe for men and women, has really good effects for women who have the endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndromes. And there have even been studies that have been shown that this stuff is really good for hormone-sensitive cancers as well, especially sort of breast and ovarian sort of cancers. And especially, women who have a lot, it's very, very common now. A lot of women go for mammograms and they find that you get these sort of fibrocystic or breast changes, and they talk about dense breast tissue on these mammograms. And DIM is an excellent supplement for that. It has some really positive effects on helping to control those estrogen levels and balance the estrogen levels so that these changes actually can start reversing. And of course, it's not just a magic pill. You have to make those dietary changes, those lifestyle changes as well. For men and prostate health, DIM is also quite amazing. There are a lot of studies on prostate health and using DIM, especially with prostate cancers, and as well in terms of enlarging of the prostate. And in men, I think the statistics now are 50% of all men over the age of 50 will end up with an enlarged prostate, and 80% of men over 80 will end up with an enlarged prostate. So DIM is a good start. In addition to watching your weight, watching your the amount of balancing your testosterone levels, making sure you're exercising, making sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in terms of your diet and all these things. So DIM is an excellent supplement for that. Another one that I tend to use is quercetin. I really like quercetin. It, besides having sort of positive effects on the immune system, it has some positive effects on viral infections, longevity effects. DIM is a great molecule that has some signaling effects in terms of turning on your autophagy, and also it has effects on affecting senescent cells. And senescent cells are these sort of age zombie cells that build up in our system and are part of the aging process. So quercetin is really excellent in terms of that, and it has quite a lot of positive effects on the human body. Grapeseed extract is one I love. I know Dr. Nash was speaking a lot about polyphenols, and grapeseed extract contains a lot of polyphenols, and these things have effects from the nootropic levels to the cardiovascular state. It has really, really positive effects on these areas, and it's an anti-aging supplement. It's also the main ingredient in a supplement that we like called CardioFX that has really profound effects on the cardiovascular system. One more set of I will class these supplements together. And I remember we spoke about the mitochondria a few moments ago. Mitochondrial health, it's watching your diet, exercising, all these things have positive effects on mitochondrial health. But there are a group of supplements that I've sort of put together that has a lot of positive effects on the mitochondria. And I use these as well. Sometimes I've tried these on myself at first. I've used them on a lot of patients, and we've got a lot of positive effects. And I mainly use them in patients who are suffering a lot from what we call the aging process and an advanced aging process, and also as well patients who suffer from cancer. And what you tend to find is that patients, a lot of the compounds that work on anti-aging work on cancer as well. Because cancer is as a result of accelerated aging on the body. damaged cells is what actually leads to cancer from a physical level. There are mental, emotional aspects to cancer. There are spiritual aspects, and there are energetics, aspects within the body that lead to cancer as well. But these mitochondrial supplements, and these are PQQ, and you want to be getting about 20 milligrams of that on a daily basis. Quercetin, and about 1,000 milligrams on a daily basis is excellent for that. The next one would be quercetin. You want to use about 1,000 milligrams of that. Sorry, quercetin, ubiquinol is another one. Ubiquinol, and you want to get about 200 milligrams of that. There's one caution with ubiquinol: take it on a full stomach, because it can sometimes cause sort of upset stomach, digestive system issues. And lipoic acid is another one that we like to use as well in this mitochondrial supplement. So these supplements here that we use, they have a positive effect on the mitochondria. They boost mitochondrial production. They help to heal the mitochondria. And again, the healthier mitochondria, the healthier you're going to be, the more gracefully you're going to age, and that's going to have a really positive effect on your health well-being. We do a lot of energy treatments here in Ishtara, and energy treatments have a lot of positive effects on the human body. We have a subtle energetic system that operates in sync with our physical body, and many different styles of medicine have tried to map this out and look at this. From the Ayurvedic system, which they would have looked at chakras. You have the traditional Chinese system that looks at meridians and these acupuncture points, and there's so many different modalities that they use to try to treat these things. But also we will use sort of laser treatments. We use a lot of light and magnetic fields here in Ishtara, and these things have a lot of positive effects on longevity. Personally, when at the end of my day, or sometimes if there's a cancellation in my list, I will slip away and I will jump onto one of our machines. And typically I will use the PMF machine, which is a pulse magnetic field. And it's a very low frequency pulse magnetic field that sort of puts the body more into a centered, regenerative, healing state. And it has a lot of positive benefits. Once a year, I will do some laser treatments on myself as well. That's the endolaser, which is a system we have out of Germany, and it's inserting a cannula into your veins, and you're irradiating your blood, using laser. One last thing I wanted to talk about is the mind and joy, and having a purpose in your life, and having something to wake up every morning and feel excited about. That has a huge role on longevity and wellness, and I try to put that into practice in my life on a regular basis. So make sure you're doing things that make you happy. Do exercises that you love. Dance, jump around your kitchen, put on some music on a regular basis. Take vacations, and not just vacations where you're just escaping everything. Take vacations that sort of enrich your life and your soul, and give you experiences that make you enjoy life. Because the more joyful you are, I can promise you, the longer you're going to live. So that's a few of the things that I have to contribute to share with everybody that you can use on a regular basis that helps with health and longevity and wellness. So we'll hand over to John now, and John will give us some feedback on what he does on a regular basis.
Hello, how you doing?
Hey, John.
All right. Can you turn off your camera?
Sure.
Thank you.
So wait, can you turn that off for me, John? I'm just trying to. Where is the?
It's okay. It'll be up on the top there. Green icon looks like it says screen.
Great. Yeah, we got it.
Thank you. All right. So good evening, everyone. It's great to see you. And yeah, now you can't go on vacation. Okay. So I love all your comments, by the way, in the chat. It's been really, really awesome. And all the questions you have, it's been really wonderful. So I'm going to take a few moments and kind of go through my habits that I've experienced in my life and the changes I have made. And most of these would not have happened without kind of a core foundational aspect that may just be a personality trait. But I think if you can begin implementing that, it'll literally be game changing for your life. And it's kind of simple. The concept is called CANI, C-A-N-I. CANI, as it says on the screen, stands for constant and never-ending improvement. And think of it as this. When you have a child, an infant, they're learning how to walk. They start to get up, they take 2 steps and they fall. And everyone's like, oh, but you were so great. And we're clapping them along, we're cheering them on, and they were amazing. But they fell. But what do we do to that child? We take the time with that child to uplift them, to say, you're doing great. And you guys, you're going to walk again. Come on, you got this. And the parents or whoever is there will do their best to positively reinforce the concept that you got this, that when you fall, you're going to get up, and I promise you're going to walk. We don't look at children and say, oh, they fell, they're never going to walk. Continue crawling, little one. It'll never work. That's not the way we work. We naturally know that the human design, our current physical design is that of walking, running, etc. And we therefore encourage these children to do that. And the reason I bring this up is when we get older, we often learn from our outside surroundings and such that from ourselves and from these outside forces to not always be happy when we fall. So this rewiring of supporting yourself positively when stuff happens, because it's bound to happen, will be tremendous for your life. In other words, when you fall, when quote unquote failure happens, you say, hey, I've been looking forward to you. I'm very happy you're here. I knew you were coming. I'm ready for you. I'm ready to now embrace you and surpass you. In other words, most people beat themselves up terribly anytime there's a screw up in life. That's life. Life happens. There's things that aren't going to go the way you want them to go. But the point is, you just move forward and move on. So I would encourage everyone here to make a commitment to always learning and growing in your life. For me, one of the major benefits of this, besides feeling healthier, more vibrant, growing as an individual, changing careers, moving from the US to Trinidad, all these things were part of the process of me actually committing to personal growth as who I am. Not something I do, it's who I am. And what I'm going to show you in the next few slides are kind of my exploration as to where I am today. And if we were to have this same talk 2 years down the road, my top things that kind of came to mind from my perspective would have changed. That's because what I like to do would have grown, and I would be a different person in 2 years than I am today. And if you're the same person in 2 years from than you were two years ago, now that you were 2 years ago, I would strongly encourage you to find the things you love and you're passionate about, and it will be game-changing for your life, but it never gets boring. There's a common correlation between longevity and the person's desire to do something next. Literally, they have studies of people who have lived tremendous ages who say, yeah, but I'm not dying until I see my great-granddaughter walk down the aisle, or I want to see this game. Whatever the reason, people have lived tremendous you, it's me. It's not you, it's me. Okay. All right. I should be back. Can you guys let me know on your side if I am in the... Oh, you lost me in Jamaica. Thank you. Thank you, Nilesh. And guys, for those of you who are actually on the Vitality Academy membership, one of the blessings of being a member is I will edit out this 60-second blurb as if it never happened. Okay. So back to where we were. All right. So I want to just first discuss, thank you guys, so glad to be here. First thing is diet. And the reason I'm bringing this up is my diet has been a can-I part of my life that has changed dramatically during my life. Dramatically. I grew up eating mostly processed foods, cereals that were all pretty colors, lots of milk and dairy. I was a huge sugar addict. All I ate was bread and candy. And as soon as I became an adult and earned my own money, all I ate was processed foods. And for years, that was what I ate because I was like, I couldn't have this as a kid. Now I'm going to have it. Okay. And not that anyway, so the reason I bring this up is over the past year or two, my diet has shifted dramatically. And the reason I'm bringing this up to all of you is my energy levels have gone sky high. Sky high. Not like I feel more energetic. I mean, legitimately sky high. Okay. And the nice thing about this is, as it says here, I eat mostly raw, whole food, meaning a food that actually is, and it's plant-based. So I should probably say plant-based, but everything I eat are plants that I pick up, whether it be a salad, whether it be a vegetable, whether it be a fruit. That is 95, 98% of what I eat. The nice thing about that, I don't ever have to read an ingredients list because I see it, I hold it, I feel it. But I kind of played around with this for a while to find out what made me feel best. Okay. And I'll kind of give you that recipe here of how I have done it in just a moment. But I want to bring up the fact that I go to the supermarket for laundry soap, for trash bags. I buy almost nothing at the grocery store. Apple cider. I buy like things I can count 5 fingers are food related from the grocery store. Everything else is from the farmer's market. So the reason I bring this up is it's nice because it's simple, but I want to give you, before I go into the ingredients here, if you're a person who doesn't eat like this at all now, which is many, many people, and I respect that, I would encourage that you read the Plant Paradox book, the Dr. Gundry book that we mentioned in a previous webinar, because there's some foods that in their raw state have a lot of what they call lectins, which can mess with people's microbiome, their gut flora, a whole bunch of problems. It causes a lot of inflammation. Just doesn't agree with everyone's body. So that's Dr. Gundry's Plant Paradox book. But that being said, once you know what you can eat and how to prepare the food so you can eat it, it's game changing. So let me tell you what John eats every day. And this is what I eat, guys. I don't eat stuff offside this. So the actual mix of the food, it's roughly 50% fruit, roughly 30% salad and vegetables. And I'll give you actually like kind of my meal plan, if you will. 50% whole starches. I'll explain that in a moment. And a little bit of nuts and seeds. Okay. So that is kind of if I were to give it on a percentage basis, what goes into this body every day, actually. Okay. Then, so here's a John day. First meal, fruit. Second meal, fruit. Third meal, huge salad. And if you've never seen my salads, it's enormous, right? It's big, full of vegetables, full of a tremendous amount of variety. And I have here, everything's all natural ingredients, but the salad dressing, if you're going to be someone who's eating vegetables and salads, salad dressings are everything. So I would strongly encourage you learn how to make delicious salad dressings. A bad salad dressing makes people not want to eat salad, but I have learned how to make absolutely delicious salad dressings. And maybe at some point I'll do kind of like my top 3 or 4 salad dressings. But the point is, I eat this every day, but if I didn't make it delicious, it wouldn't be as desirable to eat. The challenge when you eat this way are a couple things. One, you get hungry because fruit flushes through you. Your body digests fruit. Like you'll eat a meal, an hour to an hour, 15 minutes later, you're hungry again. Okay? So with that, you'll have a propensity to be hungry, but you won't feel fatigued. The reason I changed this diet and this way of eating is I used to feel fatigued after every meal. I would eat a meal and I'd have this energetic dip. I no longer have that. I feel amazing, like unbelievably good. Okay? But that's one challenge. And 2, here's the other challenge, is that when you eat this way, if you have eaten a life of dairy, meat, processed foods, sugars, the standard diet that most people in the world eat, and this is never a judgment call, okay? This took years and of me failing and recommitting to improve my diet, okay? So don't think this is an overnight thing. And I'm not perfect in it either. I do quote unquote cheat periodically. Okay. But the important thing when you eat cleanly, your body, if you've eaten poorly in the past, your body will give you a reaction of actually detoxing, which feels awful, feels sick. You can have a fever, just very unpleasant. Okay. And the last thing I want to bring when it comes to the diet is you're hungry at the end of the day. So what I do is starches that usually have a level of what's called resistant starch. And I have examples here: steamed plantain, steamed mocha, which is a local banana plantain variety. I'll have pressure cooked quinoa, and once in a while I'll have ground provisions. So those are the foods that I'll have either with that last salad or shortly after, and then I finish for the next day. Okay, so that's what I eat. Intermittent fasting and multi-day fasting. So intermittent fasting is just spreading out your eating window, meaning you're not eating all day. You don't eat first thing. You don't eat right before you go to bed. You kind of shrink the amount of time you eat. Multi-day fasting is kind of where you're not eating for a day or 2 days or what have you. And the reason I bring this up is when you get into intermittent fasting, your body will have a pull, at least that's been my experience, to actually move to longer fasts. So right now, as we're filming this, I am almost exactly 48 hours, 2 days into a water fast. My plan is to go 7 to 14 days, but I do this a lot. I have a lot of experience. I do not encourage you to do this, okay? So should you explore this, do maybe up to 3 days, okay? Beyond that, other things need to be considered: how you eat, how you your last meal, how you restart it. There's a lot of questions and challenges that come up with longer fasts, and there are dangers to longer fasts if you don't know what you're doing, okay? And there's a great book that kind of gives a nice little rudimentary spelling out of this, which is called Fast This Way by David Asprey. Fast This Way by David Asprey. So, but for me, it has been really powerful. When I'm done with fast, not only do I feel and look younger, etc., but you will never feel the same post doing regular fast than you do before. Okay. This last couple slides I'm just going to do quickly just because it's helpful. I think it's very important to exercise 3 to 5 times a week, but I think it's more important to eat healthier first because your body will have a desire to move. If you eat poorly, your body pulls you down energetically. You just don't have the energy vibes that you would normally. So you notice how children, you don't have to tell them to exercise. They love to move. They can't sit still. That's because their bodies are very clean. Most adults don't have very clean bodies. So in my experience, the cleaner I've eaten, the more naturally energized and desire I have without trying, I have to exercise. So it's still good to exercise, and it's good for detoxing. It's good for physical health, cardiovascular, et cetera. Great for the brain health, actually, like Dr. Nalash was talking about. But if you were to simplify my thing, I think the intermittent fasting starting off and the diet are helpful. Last but not least, and I'm glad Dr. Nalash covered this, deep restorative sleep. I have found a tremendous difference in body weight. People gain a lot of extra weight when they don't get enough sleep. It's not fat you're gaining, by the way. It's just water weight from the stress hormone cortisol. But it's important to embrace getting enough sleep because your body will get a chance to clean itself out. But the stress of not getting enough sleep can impact your exercise, impact your mental focus and clarity. It really has a powerful drag, but also just simply on body weight. So, and then before I go and before I let Dr. Harry take the stage here, so these are the blue light glasses, as you see, and then I grabbed these while Dr. Nalash was talking. These you wear in the evenings because we watch television, and even with a lot of other stuff, there's still a lot of blue light. These are night for maybe an hour to 2 hours before bed. They make everything dark, dark, dark red. And if you put these on and you don't get enough sleep, because your body begins producing melatonin, you'll find that you begin to start yawning and immediately feel tired. It's a great way to test if you're properly rested and such. So with that, guys, thank you for allowing me to share that. Any questions you have, they're always welcome. And hello, Dr. Harry. Always good to see you, sir.
Yes, I'm here.
He is
trying to get this going.
All right,
Okay.
go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm supposed to close the curtain and also bring it down. My hair looks kind of funny on the side here, but that's okay. Well, most of what I practice in my life, I've shared in the webinars. So I guess if you were listening to all the webinars, you would have had an idea of exactly what I do, because I practice and teach the things that I have been teaching for years. So I just want to let everybody start by having a close look at your thumbprint. Let's take your right thumb and look at your thumbprint. And what I want you to realize is that it's unique. You are the only one on the planet right now with that thumbprint. You are so unique. There's nothing else like you, no one else like you. And at the same time, you're different, but you're not better than anyone else on the planet. So remember that you are different, but not better than. Right. Now, over the years, I've kind of distilled the very simple way of living and to live a healthy and long life in just basically three things. And I would say that essentially it's intelligence, peace, and joy. Those are the three things that I have been working on, and I've made it a practice to develop those as I went on from 1 year to another. Now, you have a 12-organ system. You have a 13-meridian system, more or less. And you also have a 7-chakra system. You also have, 5 elements in Chinese acupuncture, which literally relates to 13 elements, 13 meridians. But what I want to talk about is the body, mind, spirit, which is summarized all of the systems that we put together. And you can start essentially with looking at the 7 chakras, and you know that the lower 5 chakras from the throat downwards relates specifically to the physical body. The brow chakra actually relates to the mind, and the crown chakra to the spiritual level. So that's the body, mind, spirit connection. And we can relate those to the three things that I've just mentioned: the joy, the peace, and the spiritual aspect of yourself. So what do I do on a daily basis? Well, the physical aspect, you really need simple things, very simple things. The body operates on basically instinct. The mind, the intellect, and the spirit, intelligence, and the same as, you can say this the same as the intuition. All right, so the body simply needs a few things. One is that for your body to function, it functions basically on the basis of instinct. The blood is flowing, digestion occurs, your mind is working, your eyes are blinking, hair is growing, and all of these things. Blood is flowing, you convert food into blood at the end of the day and tissues, and all of that is operating at a basic level. What does the body need? You need water. I think this is one of the most important things, water. But we live in an age where water has become a really commercial commodity, and therefore we push drinking a lot of water. I would say that you only drink when you're thirsty, and a lot of people disagree with that. But if you don't follow that, then your thirst mechanism, your brain is not working very well. So you need to know when you are thirsty, and you need to drink. And you need only small amounts of water to drink. But the kind of water that you need, the type of water that you need, must be of the highest quality. And, we just in mentioning that, we are working on and would soon be presenting a healing water that is quite different from all the other waters available in the country, in the very near future. At the same time, apart from water, it's so important because everything is based on the influence on water in your body. Now, if you go further, sunlight is very important. Whether sunlight streaming through your closed eyes, your open eyes, if you choose that, or on your skin. Your skin is a photocell, huge photocell, absorbing light. And light influences your microbiome, and the microbiome in the water system in the body. And you can generate all kinds of beautiful cells coming out of, your microbiome in the body system, containing water. So sunlight and water, they go hand in hand. You need air, you need breathing. Now, we function at a very low vibrational level when we breathe between 8 to 14 cycles or breaths per minute. So you need to train yourself on a daily basis, practicing with 3 breaths a minute and lower. And I think one of the doctors did mention that, already. So breath, air is important. And then you need food. And, you just need food. A lot of people eat too much food, just in summary. Generally, we are eating too much food. We can gain food. There's something called the manna from heaven, or the prana from the quantum field. It's filled with food. We just know how to, digest it through our nostrils, through breathing, and understanding that it's so filled with that substance called the manna or the prana, that can be converted into food in our bodies. So what else? The last thing we need is sleep. And I just want to mention here, although it's mentioned before by 2 or 3 of the doctors, that sleep is very, very important. But I don't have more than 4 to 5 hours sleep a night. And people will say that's too little. But what I do know is that I've trained myself to have what is called a power nap, 5 minutes, 6 minutes. You just completely go into the deepest sleep for a short period of time, and your body regenerates itself. There's so much happening during that time. So I would recommend start training yourself to have a power nap. Even if you're working, you can take a break, withdraw for a few minutes, just drop into a deep sleep. It will take some time for you to develop that. And when you do that, you will feel great, because your brain function, I tell you what, we are working all the time. The brain is working all the time. While you're working 12, 15 hours a day, your brain is functioning. And your brain heats up. And by just tiny, small increases in temperature in your brain, you are going to damage brain cells. Your brain is so sensitive. Brain cells are so sensitive. In a power nap, you regenerate everything. And all you need is probably about 5 minutes of that. So train yourself to do that. That's what I do from time to time. And I feel great after just 5 minutes to 6 minutes of that. And you can do that at any time during the day. Just tune in, tune out, and then tune in back again. All right, so that's basically what the body needs. One more thing I'll mention about the body is, and I'll come back to it somewhere to the end, is motion. And we do a lot of things. What I do on a daily basis is choose a few exercises. I run upstairs and I make it a habit to skip 2 steps and keep walking. And that's what I do for exercise, up and down the stairs when I work. The other thing is I do pull-ups, push-ups, and I do squats on a regular basis every single day. And what I do is I do these exercises and for a short time only, just to keep myself physically well. And there's a very important factor in the way I exercise. It generates endorphins, good chemicals, happy chemicals, and that gives you a lot of joy. So a lot of joy comes from the body. There's no expression of joy unless you have a physical body to have it, right, and to feel it. If you're in a spiritual state or alone, it's different. Joy really is coming from the body and the chemicals generated in your brain. And that brain, from the crown chakra, you're connected to the spiritual zone, so to speak. So that's the physical body. Now, what do we do when we look at the intellect, for instance? That's very important. But that's the biggest problem that we all have, because it works through the mind. And the intellect is always rationalizing, analyzing, and so on. And we really, as human beings, we really don't need much of that. And we depend too much on that. We are programmed through the intellect, through the mind, by all the programs, all the wrong programs, the bad programs. And we do not function in a way where the intellect, the mind is at peace. The mind functions in a very powerful way when it's in a peaceful state, when it's in a quiet state. And if we cannot learn to control the mind, if we cannot learn to bring the mind into that peaceful state, then we are not going to do very well in so many areas, in almost every area of ourselves. Now, how does the mind function? It functions when we get into that intuitive mode that really comes out of intelligence. And I would not go into intelligence in this short talk, because we have done that so many times, and the attributes of intelligence. But when we have intelligence functioning, there's intuition. We don't need tutors from the outside. People listen to priests, they listen to doctors, they listen to everybody around, and we get programmed into a certain way. And by way of the intellect, we are programmed. And so the basic influences on the body comes as a program that runs our, entire life. Then it affects every level of ourselves. So what I'm saying is that what we need as human beings, and to be advanced human beings, is to be able to get to the point where the mind is at peace and quiet. And so I have trained myself to function as best as I can under peace and serenity, no matter what the condition is. And so I think I've gained a lot. I would say maybe about 60% there, that no matter what I'm going through, I can stay peaceful and calm. And when you do that, I tell you what, your life becomes totally different. You know, the joy is there, the intuition is there, the intelligence is there. And so I cannot stop stressing that, because we all go through things on a regular basis, on a day-to-day basis. We get flipped over, we get thrown off our center, we get thrown upside down, and then it takes us completely away from our center and our peace and serenity. I'll tell you what, I have experienced so many times dangers in my life, near-death experiences, and each time I was able to survive it only because I adopted that position of peace and serenity. Because when you have that peace and serenity in yourself, what happens is you are connected to the very source of life itself. And you cannot be in danger, you cannot be, let's say, destroyed, physical body destroyed, when you are in that peaceful state. There's a whole flood of new, I would say a flood of energies, I should rather put it, coming from the source itself into your life. So even if you're going to die, if you have a near-death experience, something is happening to you, and you know that you're going to perish, you can be saved as long as you have peace and serenity, because at that moment you connect to the very source itself, which is nothing but life. All right, let's look at the other side of it, the other part of the triangle, and that is intelligence, intuition. You know, a lot of people ask me this, and I'll throw it out in the public. Ask me, you know, what do I feel about the vaccine? And that's a nice question, because my feeling is at the top of the list. I always tell people, I answer that question by saying, if I go to a restaurant with a group of people and I do not feel to eat in the restaurant, I will not eat. I function from feelings, mainly. What I feel, that is most important to me. It has nothing to do with my logical and rational mind. You know, so that's how I will deal with vaccines when it comes to vaccines in the near future. So if you go with your feeling actually, people will tend to think that your feeling is not scientific, it's not rational. But here's what, everything that I've discovered, that I've read about in the field of science, has come from inspiration first. It has come from intuition, and then we put it to the test, and then we accept it. So some of the greatest discoveries in the world came from inspiration first. And that is from intuition. It comes from intelligence. Then it comes down to the level where we can convince people by showing them statistics and showing them how it works and so on. And that's the scientific part of it. So what I'm showing you is that as human beings, we are feeling beings. But how does feeling work? It emanates from the heart, yes, from the electromagnetic fields in the heart. But actually, when we say heart, we're not talking about physical heart alone. We're talking about a higher center, which is actually the spiritual side of ourselves. And that is related to our intelligence and intuition. And so when we talk about feelings, it's something that fires the brain in a totally different way. It brings a point of knowing in your life, totally knowing. You don't have to question it. You don't have to prove it. Others would always want it proven. And so you come down to another level, and then you start to show statistics and so on and so on and so on. But you don't have to question feelings at all. But most of us on this planet, we don't go by feelings. And the way we destroy our feelings is to create negative behavioral patterns, like we create fear. When we create fear in ourselves, when we disturb our peace, then no longer feelings are poisoned. The feelings become contaminated. And so we are not clear. We never get clear information. So going back to the triad, we can only have joy in our lives when we actually, and I've said this before, when we share. And even when you do all the things that you do, if you cannot come around to learning to share, and sharing comes from a concept of moving love to compassion. You're sharing of yourself. You are here, you are the universe, and the universe is you. And you are everything. You are the infinite being. So even though you're confined to a physical body that may be 180 pounds or 150 pounds or whatever, you are the universe, and you have a limitless amount of energies available to you, except in your mind you think that you're just a small size individual. Let us get to that point where we start thinking that we are infinite and that we are limitless. When we do that, we have enormous amount to share. And I would ask all of you, if you want to really be in a happier state and a joyful state, every day look forward to doing something that could be considered sharing of yourself, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Make it a habit to learn to share. And when you share, you are actually sharing because you could see someone that you can share something with as yourself. There was a famous saying by one famous rabbi who said, love your neighbor as yourself. And he moved love from love, which is a lower vibrational level, to a higher vibration, which is basically compassion, when you can look at another person exactly like yourself, having the same fingerprint like yourself. That is a merging of something. It's called oneness, compassion. So in summary, I would just say that every single day I try, there are certain things that I would use to keep myself healthy. I do physical exercises. I get a certain amount of sunlight, natural light. Grounding is important. Some mornings, every morning I walk out and I pick up the paper that's thrown over the fence. And I get a chance to stand on the earth for a while and look at the sun with my eyes closed. That's something I've been doing for years, and I get it when I get the opportunity to do it. I do it. There's always a good thing to start the day with a glass of good quality, high energy water, and that's very important in my daily routine. I will tell you that tulsi, the flowers of tulsi, I make a tincture out of it, and I take some of that regularly. I use cocoa nibs and raisins as a mixture, as a snack, but it's filled with flavonoids, and that's very powerful, and I think it was mentioned before. I also got in the habit of using pomegranate and beet. I don't use these things every single day, but spontaneously when I feel like using these things, I use them. Motion is very important for me. As I said, exercise, but I think that we need to look at motion from the point of view where it literally generates endorphins. And the slower the motion and the more rhythmic the motion, more coordinated with your breathing, you create more of the happy chemicals and you generate the basic feeling of joy in your life. Music has always been a part of my life. I remember from early o'clock listening to music growing up and then eventually moving out. And from the time I was in school and also in university, I listen to music all the time. And up to today, every single day, I put on music and listen. What I would suggest to some of you is get some music when you were nowadays when you have children, you play music for children. And it brings back a certain level of energy. And parents get it when they listen to the same music that they play to the children. So if you don't have any children to play the music to, just sometimes, you can play some of those music. It brings back that kind of childlike behavior in yourself. And then all throughout your years of living, I'm certain that there are certain pieces of music that you enjoy. It brought some joy into yourself, good health, and so on. And I would suggest that and I have done this. I've taken a number of pieces of music that I have, and I use those on a regular basis. I still listen to them all the time. Imagine is one of them that I love very much, and a lot of over the years. Yeah, that's Siri disturbing all. So, yeah, and what I found with that is that many times I would find myself finishing work at 10, 11 in the night, and I would say, okay, I'm going to listen to John Lennon, Imagine. And I enjoy that piece of music and that song. But there are other pieces that I've been listening to repeatedly because, when you were 20 and there was a piece of music that you loved, then when you listen to that, you go back to that age. It's anti-aging. And it's the same throughout. So as you get older and there are pieces of music that you find, I would suggest that you go back to that piece, get a number of them and put them together and you just listen to them. So music is important. Now, in sort of closing, I would say that the one thing I would like to share with you, which is a bit, which you have known before, is that there's one exercise that I find, to me, the most profound. And I didn't say this in the webinars, but I've taught everybody the exercise in the webinar. It has to do with putting your hands up in the air and you're turning in. And I will tell you the importance of this right now, because you're turning your hands up in the air like this, but it's pointing down when you breathe in and turning out and then breathing out through your mouth, like in. No, this is not the posture actually, but it's actually, I don't know if I can show you standing. I'm a bit handicapped because I have an injury in my back and it's difficult to, but so Roshan is going to turn the camera a little bit up for me. Right, so your hands are up like this and you're turning your hands down. No, I'm just bending my elbow to show you. You're breathing in and imagining that the entire universe is becoming you. It's okay. I think they got it. The entire universe is becoming you, and then you turn your hands out and you breathe out, and you are disappearing into the universe. This is a practice. The future of human beings would be to lift the vibrational levels to the point where you become one with the quantum field, so that you can move into the quantum field and come back when you want. We are close, we are very close to that, achieving that. And this exercise helps us to get there because it's a training. When you imagine that you are breathing in, the universe is becoming you, you are in a physical form. And when you put your hands outwards like this and you breathe out, you are becoming the universe. So what I want you to start doing in this exercise, because that's what I do every day. You are the universe and you are this body. You are the universe and you're this body. So I hope you got that. It's just a practice. And if you practice every day, one day you will find yourself disappearing into the quantum field and coming back into this physical body. It's very powerful, but very simple exercise. And I hope you will be able to take that and practice it. So my life is very simple. One of the things I do every morning when I wake up is I fix my bed. And I know that's something that helps me to get my mind focused and get my feet grounded on the earth. And then you do the normal things that you have to do, like, stretches, exercises, and so on. But I've shared with you there's a few things that are very important and summarize very quickly. Tulsi is very important. The Tulsi flowers, I don't use the leaves. The flowers, the cocoa nibs that I use on a regular basis, power naps, sleep just 5 minutes at a time, motion on a regular basis, good quality water, sunlight, and breathing with air that you need in your body. And the process of living your life on a daily basis with peace and serenity, because that's very important. If you do not quieten the mind, if you do not bring your mind into the quiet state, you cannot function as a real human being. You will be functioning from your programming, how you're programmed to behave. You're a unique being. That's why I ask you to look at your thumbprint, because if you come into this world and you don't express the you in this universe and add value to the quantum field, at the end of the day, you have wasted a life. And you need really to develop that peace and serenity. I cannot emphasize that more than I am trying to do. The second thing is the question of intelligence. And I'll just run over some of it because I do have a 2 to 3 minutes. The thing is that intelligence, as I've defined it, is being able to face the unknown, difficult situation they've never dealt with before, and deal with it. You can solve it. Intelligence means that you have compassion. That is, you're able to understand that you are one with everything in the universe. The trees, the stones, the sky, the mountains, all other human beings. You are the same. You're one. You're just an expression in a different form. That's why you have a different fingerprint. You're on this planet to be yourself, to think for yourself, and to create the life that you want. And that comes from intelligence as well. And one very important aspect of intelligence is that you can heal yourself. You can truly heal yourself. And you can only heal yourself if you're in that peaceful and serene state. Because when you're in that peaceful and serene state, even if you're sick, and you're very sick, if you attain that state, suddenly there's a rush of flow of divine energies coming through the crown chakra, entering your body and allowing your body to heal. Your body has the natural tendency to do that, but it must be influenced. So in ending, I would say that the body, mind, spirit, the instinct, the intellect, and intuition, they all function feeding each other. your body should be here forever. I've said this many times. Can you imagine a snake reaching a point where it's outgrown its cells and organs and its skin, and then it sheds everything and it becomes renewed? How come a human being with so much intelligence cannot do the same? So we can achieve that. It's just that we've been programmed differently, and we accept shortcomings. We accept the fact that one day we'll all perish. And what I'm teaching people and what I'm saying to people, it's a bit way out, but it's actually the truth. There are two paradigms that we have stated. One has cause and one has no cause. And we want to enter into the causeless paradigm of health, life, and God or the divine. So I end there by raising my glass to you and drinking some good quality water. So thank you. Yes, John.
All right, guys. So thank you so much, doctors. So we are at 6:30. This is when we usually end the talk. We'll go a few minutes over for Q&A here, and we'll go for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And we have a few questions. We had a series of questions when we started talking about the various leaves. I don't know if one of the doctors just wants to sit down and kind of answer these kind of rapid fire. So who would like to sit down?
We'll join in depending on who the question is for.
Okay. How many guava leaves and rosemary leaves to make the tea?
What I normally do is I make a big batch. So I would put maybe about a handful of guava leaves, dried guava leaves, and maybe about a tablespoon or two of dried rosemary, and I would boil that for about 15 minutes, and then I would conserve the liquid, strain out the liquid, and I could put it in the fridge, or I can freeze it into ice blocks or something like that, and have it on a daily basis.
Okay. There's another question on that as well. Hold on, let me go over here. How many neem leaves, and then can I just eat moringa leaves to get the benefit? Because there was a mention of a moringa.
Yes, you can eat neem leaves. You can eat moringa leaves just like that. But if you eat raw moringa leaves, if it's not dried, it can be a little bit irritating for your stomach if you have too much.
Yeah, it stimulates your liver too much and you feel nauseous and so on. So it's better to dry it before using it and make a tea, or it's better to be cooked, and then it's less irritating to the liver.
Okay, awesome. And then Nilash, any research recommendations for staggering or supplementing, for staggering supplementing?
I always tell people that it is better the supplements are in you rather than outside of you for them to work. So the more rules you give people about when to take supplements, the more difficult it is. But people have, they might find, hey, you know what, I feel better if I take this at this time or that time. If you're using nootropics for sharpness of your mind, you don't want to use them too late in the evening. Otherwise, if you're taking 2 or 3 different things, yes, you should really maybe space them out.
Okay. Almond milk is fine to drink, correct? Question was, is almond milk okay to drink?
Anybody have any problems with almond milk?
So much almonds in there.
If you make your own.
I would suggest you make your own almond milk, then it's pretty good for you to drink.
Okay. When you're doing a water fast, can you juice vegetables as well?
When you're doing a water fast, John, you probably answer that.
Yes, but ideally you don't have anything that really increases calories above a certain point. The threshold. There's a doctor, Dr. Walter Longo, I think is his name, has this. It's called fast mimicking diet, and the concept is as long as you can keep calories under 400 calories, 400 to 700 depending on body size, etc., then you get almost all of the benefits of fasting. There are people who are diehards who are like never anything but just pure water. They wouldn't even. I mean, some of these people are kind of go over the top. But the point is, so if you're trying to be completely perfect about a water fast, get all the benefits, just water. But I don't see with some veggie juices it being an issue. Okay. This one's for Dr. Ramnarayan. How do I get my loved ones to understand the current vaccine dangers?
Which Ramnaran you want to answer that question?
You were the one talking at that time. Dr. Harry. I know, they're like, oh, Dr. Ramnarayan. Yeah.
Well, the parents are in charge of children, and they have to make that decision themselves. It's as simple as that.
Okay. They weren't talking about kids, though. They just meant anyone who's a loved one.
Okay. Well, if the person is old enough, they can make the decision themselves.
Okay.
I'm saying use your feelings.
Yes.
Children are under the guidance and the care of adults, parents, and I think that's how it works. The parents make the decisions for their children.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Harry. While you're there, Bina asks, because this was for you, how can we get good quality water? Or how can we have good quality water?
Well, originally, we have a water tile, Sonaro Water, which actually was created many years ago. And that's to bring water to what I would consider to its optimum level. Meaning, in the research done with water, I think Schauberger, he recommended 3 things: kinetic energy, motion. Water must be in motion rather than stagnant. It requires solar energy and Earth's magnetic energy. And essentially, the Sonaro water tile created those 3 things in the water. So you have good quality water with that. What we are doing now, and we're doing some work with creating a healing water, which is more or less like a medicinal water. We're changing at a quantum level the structure of the water molecule so that it actually activates the healing process in the body. We're still trying to find a way to make it available to people. We haven't yet found that. So when that is worked out, I guess that will be available.
Okay, thank you. Can you overtake supplements?
Well, I think the human being was never created for supplements.
Yeah, so of course you can. Of course you can overtake supplements. So just be very wary and careful. And as my father just said there, we weren't created to take supplements. Nutrients were supposed to be absorbed in a natural form as possible, as part of our food and our diet. Teas, water extracts, those kind of things are much.
I can just add here that let's assume there are a few nutrients like Nilash mentioned and Roshan and Adriel. My suggestion is put your supplements in the freezer compartment of your refrigerator and go by your feelings. What I'm saying is that you don't have to become a slave to taking a supplement every day. You have requirements on a daily basis, and that's how I use supplements. I put them in the freezer compartment, and I just take them when I feel the feeling. You open the refrigerator door and you look at it and you say, okay, that's a feeling for that, and that's it.
Awesome. And then these are for you, Dr. Adriel. People are asking for a list of the supplements that you had with spelling. I tell you what I can do for those who are Vitality Academy members. I'm happy to have a section in this particular webinar that will actually I can put all the things in there for you. But if you want to address that,
run through it quickly. Ubiquinol, sure. And you want 200 milligrams of that on a daily basis. Berberine is 1,000 milligrams on a daily basis. Quercetin, which is 1,000 milligrams on a daily basis. Lipoic acid, around 600 milligrams of those on a daily basis. And the last one is PQQ, which is 20 milligrams on a daily basis. And you could take this for about 3 months for the year if you're just looking at longevity and healthier mitochondria. But you don't need to take this constantly. I would recommend it for longer periods of time for patients who are suffering the negative effects of chronic aging process and or cancer. But those are the supplements that you can use on the dosages. Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you. And then the DIM was the spelling of the ones that ends in methyl one, right?
Dindolymethane. And typically what you'd consume that is about 250 to 300 milligrams on a daily basis. Don't exceed that number. It can cause some nausea. But yeah, and that tip, most supplements will give you that in one capsule, and you just take about one capsule a day.
Okay. So 2 quick questions, and then we'll finish up. Do rosemary and guava leaves need to be dried as well?
Nilash, rosemary and guava leaves need to be dried as well.
They don't need to be dried, but what I normally do is I dry them out first, and then I prepare my batch. But you could use fresh leaves. I think drying just concentrates things a little bit more.
I'll eat some fresh leaves from time to time. Just pluck some off the tree and just nibble on them.
Awesome. All right. Last question: is distilled water okay to drink daily?
Yes, it's okay, but it's not advised because of the lack of minerals. It's what we like to call
It is a high resistance water, and therefore not good for cell membrane function throughout the entire body. So you may just need just like reverse osmosis water, where you have all the solutes removed. It means you have a high resistance water, cannot conduct electricity. So you may just need a pinch of sea salt, preferably. It works better in the body rather than the rock salt, for making your water. Just a little bit, a tiny bit in the water per liter, and then you're back to normal.
Awesome. All right. With that, doctors, it's been a blast. We really appreciate all your feedback. The comments are wonderful. Thank you all, everyone who is watching us live and then in the replay, and Vitality members. We always appreciate you immensely. Thank you for your support. And with that, I'm going to enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much, doctors. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.